Okay, welcome to a special edition, a playoff edition, a championship edition of Into the Channel, podcast primarily about women's football. I am your host, Dino DeCespedes, and today we are joined by a special guest, as well as my co-host, Mr. Grant Engel. What is up, man?
I'm feeling great, buddy. And part of the reason I'm feeling great is because our guest today has navigated a high-end footballing journey in the United States, which has taken her from the elite Colorado Rush Academy all the way to Happy Valley, where she was a stalwart for Penn State University as they won conference championships, and she became the all-time leader in appearances for the Nittany Lions. In her rookie season in the NWSL, she's played a significant role as part of the league's best defense, leading to the Orlando Pride triumphantly lifting the NWSL shield. It's an honor and a privilege to welcome to the show, Cori Dyke.
Thank you. Excited to be here, guys, and thank you for that awesome intro.
No worries. You earned it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Cori, I want to kick us off. So you've obviously started the Pride's final 10 matches after appearing in 11 of the first 16. Can you talk about what it took from you personally, like as a player, to grow into that role, like a big-time role on a big-time defense? As Grant mentioned, performing at an absolute historic clip.
Well, I always have to start, I think, with Penn State. I think my coaches there and what I learned there throughout my 5 seasons there really prepared me well to step into this environment. Unfortunately, coming into preseason, I suffered an injury and was unable to train the majority of preseason, which I think kind of pushed me back farther than I would have liked, had to overcome some adversity. But I think it was just a belief in myself and the foundation that I had built up until that point as a soccer player, but also just relying on the people around me in this environment, the belief from my coaches, the belief from my teammates in the amazing training environment that we've created here in Orlando. I think all of that, allowed me to step into that role when the opportunity presented itself.
That makes a lot of sense, like from an outside perspective. Dino and I throughout the season have talked about there's just an energy that is like exuding from the club. We're big Seb Hines fans over here. It just seems like your team, no matter who is kind of being rotated in and out, who's on the pitch at any given time, that you guys really, I know it's kind of a sports cliche, but like you really play for each other. How does that feel like in the locker room for you guys?
No, I mean, we really do. And it's not just a cliche for us. I mean, sometimes I do think people just say that, but we do really feel that. I think this culture is something that's really unique and something I've been really blessed to be a part of so far in my rookie year. I really can't have any complaints. It's been incredible, but I do think, Seb is a big part of that. Haley is a big part of that. It all starts from the top down, in terms of building that culture. And then I think it's just a testament to all the girls on the team, like really having great attitudes and building each other up, holding each other accountable, all those things to create that intense, supportive training environment that allows all those different people to step onto the field when necessary.
Very cool. Cori, you talked about your background at Penn State. Obviously, Nittany Lions littered throughout the last few drafts, so that's got to be pretty cool. Ali Schlegel, who you'll probably be seeing in a couple days here.
We've
or
talked.
Tomorrow night, I guess.
We've talked, yeah.
Do you guys have like a Nittany Lions group text? And if so, like what's the vibe? Is it funny? Is it serious? Is it competitive?
We should. I don't know why that doesn't exist, but it should exist. So maybe after this convo, I'll go start that. But we are a great, like, tight-knit group. We really are. Like, Penn State just runs deep. Like, we love that school. We love that program. We love our experience there. And I think that carries on into the NWSL. And it's always fun to play against other Penn Staters in the league. So looking forward to going up against Ali Schlegel for sure. She's a great competitor.
Great season by her as well. And
for sure.
Thinking about the jump from, college football into this professional setting, was there a moment, and I always think about this with just professional athletes, is there a moment in the season where a player does a move or there's a pass that's hit and you kind of have to open your eyes and be like, okay, Penn State was really competitive and we played great teams, but this is a different level up here? Oh,
yeah. I mean, for me, that's every single day training with Marta. Like, I'm reminded of it every day. She'll do something incredible, and it's like, that's why you're the GOAT. And this is indeed another level. But I mean, in all seriousness too, like the quality from everybody, especially on my team, like just everybody, starters, non-starters, even how much that has fluctuated throughout the year, I think is just a testament to how good everyone on this team is.
That's really great. Has there been any kind of a moment or teammate or coach that you're going to kind of like look back at this rookie season and remember, wow, that was a pivotal moment for me, giving me a chunk of wisdom that I think I'm going to carry for the rest of my career?
There's not a distinct moment that comes to mind, but I just think it's because I've had so many people, so many veterans like give me encouragement and lift me up throughout my time here, especially early on, that it's hard to pick just one out. But I think because, I've had that happen to me so many times, like that in and of itself is really special. Just the support from those around me, and especially those veteran players that have just kind of layered, wisdom of just, enjoying the game, like taking it all in, not letting it get too big, but just remembering, like why you even, started playing in the first place, and not losing that joy when it becomes your job, like just those things that I've taken away from them. Aside from all the soccer knowledge, obviously, that I've learned from them as well. But it's been pretty special. I think our leadership group here has done a really good job with us rookies and newbies in the league of making us feel welcome and valued.
Sure. So you mentioned Marta, the greatest player who ever lived, obviously on your squad.
Yes.
I will say one of the flashbulb moments from this entire season for me is you come onto the pitch, you play 20 minutes in that great victory over Kansas City, in Kansas City. You're down to 10 players. The emotions are running high. The final whistle blows. Marta just lets out this like primal scream. Can you tell me, on the heels of that victory, like you're going into the Olympic break, there's just so many things swirling. What are you thinking? And like at the end of that match, like immediately following it after a great triumph like that?
I mean, that match was incredible. That was a fun one, honestly, to be a part of, because it was a gritty performance. And I think the team just really rallied around that, against all odds, down a player for a majority of the game, away from home against a very elite offensive team like KC, and to be able to come out of that with a win, like I think we just like were so encouraged by that and just so excited. You could see it from Marta, from her celebrations, but I just thought it was awesome, the passion from the group, and just how much we lifted each other up in that moment. And I think the energy from that game definitely propelled us forward for the rest of the season.
That's awesome. I want to get into sort of like the rest of the season, as mentioned. 23 straight unbeaten, kind of an unfathomable number. We're thinking about like how competitive the league is. Did the streak ever get to a point where the pressure kind of started to, like, could you feel that this was like something like borderline historic, or was it just like a wave of elation and we're just like, we are in the zone right now and all we've got to do is kind of like not break anything?
Honestly, I think the majority of the time, like we really just honed in on focusing at one game at a time. And I think that mentality really helped us like day in and day out, not letting it get too big. And I think that's why the streak went as long as it did, because we weren't stressed about losing it. We just wanted to win. And because we showed up and we did our job and we prepared well week in and week out, it's why it kept happening. But I don't think we ever really let the pressure get to us like that. And I think that's another really incredible thing about this group, that we were able to kind of keep our heads throughout that whole process and block out some of the noise from the media.
So you're taking on the Chicago Red Stars. We've mentioned Ali Schlegel. I'm going to lean into my in-depth, deep football knowledge here. Mallory Swanson, very awesome as well.
Very, yes, definitely.
When you think about that attack, what do you need to do to be successful against a team like that?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. They have some very strong offensive threats, and that's the biggest thing that we need to focus on from their end going into the game, is just always being switched on in transition, because that's where they thrive. So just defensively, starting from the front all the way to the back line, like just being locked in, not switching off for a single moment, because that's where they can hurt you. Setting ourselves up in those good positions to win the ball back as quickly as possible, to not allow them to break out.
Cori, I know you kind of broke into the starting lineup, sort of later in the season, but the appearances kind of date all the way back. You talked about kind of overcoming that early season injury. Upon the arrival of Barbara Banda, what did that do in terms of like opening things up, or what was Banda's like biggest impact getting kind of dropped into this team?
Yeah, I mean, she's clearly been incredible for us. But I think something maybe that people don't talk about enough beyond just her soccer ability is just her attitude and her willingness to learn and grow. Like, I think ever since she's got here, she's had the best attitude and coachability. And I think that's a huge testament to her. And it's been so awesome to play with her. And I think having her come in to this team, obviously this team already had so many amazing, talented players, but she kind of gave us a different look up top, with her speed and her ability to hold the ball up and spin players and all of that. And I think having that weapon added to our arsenal just made us that much better.
Does it change anything as a defensive-minded player, whether you're playing defensive midfield or in the back line, when you have a superlative talent like that at forward? Does it change your mindset at all? Does it change the shape of the pitch, or how would you describe that?
I mean, not necessarily, but I do think, you look to find players like that as much as possible. So I do think, as much as we like to play, I think we pride ourselves on playing really good soccer here in Orlando. But I think part of that is utilizing the threats that you have. And so I do think we are looking to get her the ball a lot of the time. And I think that is important and maybe a little bit of a shift that we had throughout the year. But when you have people like Barbs and Marty combining up top, it's a pretty lethal combination, along with all the other amazing attackers that we have. But yes, I do think our mindset was to get her involved a lot.
And then Cori, to switch back to the defense, you guys were on a historic pace at one point. I think you were at like 12 or 13 goals allowed for it felt like 3 months.
Yeah.
What is it about this defense, this unit, that allowed you to do that as a team? I'm just extremely curious about with how competitive this league is, your unit specifically, what were you able to tap into as a group to make that happen?
The biggest thing was just the relationships, with each other on and off the field, but just that translates into trust on the pitch, and I think that's the biggest thing, the trust in each other, that we're each individually going to get the job done, but then also that we have the support of the person to our left and to our right to help us out if in case we don't. We're always covering for each other. We're always helping each other out. But I also think, training day in and day out during the week, we train hard and intense here in Orlando, especially as a defensive group, and we really pride ourselves on that. So I think training that intensity consistently prepares us for game time to do the same.
All right, I'm going to get into some questions. Hopefully they're not too controversial. Maybe we can go with non-Barbara Banda division. Who's the fastest player on your team?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm inclined to say Barb's, but probably Ali Watt. Probably Ali Watt. After that. Yeah, girl's got some speed to her.
Who's the funniest player on your team?
Oh, we got some good characters, honestly. Mo always finds a way to make me laugh. Morgan Gautreau. She's pretty funny, honestly. Carrie Lawrence always makes me laugh. They're honestly a funny duo, the two of them.
Okay.
Yeah. They get some good laughs out of me a lot. And Ali Watt, too. I'll put her in there. She's got a big personality, and she's always making me laugh, too.
Last one of the rapid fire. Who's the most intense player on your team?
Ooh, that is tough. I mean, when Marta's got her game face on, she's intense and her passion for the game is awesome. So she's the first one that pops into mind, but we have a lot of intense girls on the team that it's we mean business when we're going to work. And, I would add Carrie Abella to that too. She's a competitor. Yeah, we do have an intense group. I think when it's game time or we're training hard, people are working, we're not messing around.
It shows. Gotta say that. I want to ask a quick Shield question. Obviously, you guys, lift the Shield as an undefeated team. We'll never know what the other 3 matches would have looked like if somebody was kind of nipping at your heels. But I think historically that's important to say, we won unbeaten, unblemished. What was that moment like, kind of reaching that pinnacle?
It was amazing. Some of our leaders have talked about how at the beginning of the year, we kind of wrote our goals out on a piece of paper, what we wanted to accomplish this year. And we clearly wrote out, we wanted to win the Shield. And we wanted, to get X many points out of this year. And I remember as we were going through, we went game by game, how many points ideally we wanted to get out of each one. And as we were going through the season, we kind of realized as we writed it down, we hadn't marked us losing a game yet. And we all kind of joked about it. This is in preseason. We're guys, this is a little unrealistic. We need to at least give us 1 or 2 losses, but we were no, this is the expectation. We're good enough to do this. This is what we want. to achieve. And then we went and did it. And I think that was just so awesome to us that we like clearly, like, because everyone wants to do that, but we like very clearly put our minds to it. And then to like see that like come to fruition was amazing. It made it that much sweeter, I think, to lift that trophy. And I think it was awesome to win it, you know, for the girls. I wasn't here last year, but obviously for the girls that were here last year that had the heartbreaker of not making playoffs right at the end. And Marta, obviously, who's been here her whole career, finally had that moment to lift a trophy. Like, to do that for them was really special.
Quick follow-up. Where's that piece of paper now? I'd love to.
It's in the locker room.
Who's got
yeah.
that?
Yeah, it's in the locker
awesome.
room. Yeah, it's at the facility. Yeah. Yes, we've made references to it multiple times. Yeah, it's still around.
That is incredible. I mean, to think, I'm glad you brought it up, because I was going to ask, like, you know, Orlando Pride as a franchise, as a club, has had some lean years. And then last year, like, they go on this crazy run at the end of the season to try to really get into the playoffs. How much was that referenced, like, in the preseason, in the buildup? Were they talking about like a tangible momentum coming into the season?
They definitely were. Like, I think, you know, they utilized that fire from the, you know, heartbreaking end from the season before to just, you know, have that as a focus going into the next season. Like, we were this close. Like, we went on a run and we were this close. Like, we were right there. And I remember Haley Carter mentioned, I forget the exact number of points, but just the few number of points that we were even away from winning the Shield last year because the race was so tight. And I think just like remembering that going into the season and having us feel that extra motivation of like, we can do this. Like, yes, it didn't happen for us last year, but we were so close and we have the group to do it.
What would it mean to win the double?
I mean, it would be amazing. Obviously, people, you know, consistently reference like the Shield curse, or, you know, it's not been done, you know, but we've done a lot of things this year that haven't been done before.
That's right.
So I would not count us out at all. And I think this group is really special. And we've taken a lot of time to learn, you know, lessons from the past few games and reflect on what made us so successful throughout this whole year. And we're ready to go for the playoffs. So I think being able to lift that championship trophy as well would just mean the world for this group.
So you've mentioned Haley Carter twice, and we just have to get into it. I mean, everything I've ever read from her press conference appearances, I mean, I would follow her anywhere. I live in Seattle, Washington. She's on the opposite side of the country. I want her to be a leader in pretty much any scenario. Can you talk a little bit about maybe your relationship with her and kind of what you've seen from her as the leader of the club?
Yeah, I mean, it's evident by our success on the field that she is very good at her job. But I do think it goes beyond that, you know, like that's what everyone sees, but they don't see the stuff behind the scenes. They don't see the investment she puts into us day in and day out. And like I mentioned earlier, the culture that we've created here, that is a huge testament to her and who she brings in. And from talking to Seb and those conversations, like the culture that they wanted to create for the group, like that really did start with them. And I think she's been a huge part of that success off the field as well, which then translated to the on the field success.
Cori, thank you so much for joining us. We are going to be locked in. We're recording this on a Thursday, tomorrow night. You already know what time it is, Friday night on Prime. I'll be in the building. Best of luck to you. Best of luck to the team. And again, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, guys. It was awesome. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Thanks again.
All right. That was fun. Cori Dyke in the building. How about that? All eyes are going to be on my Orlando Pride tomorrow night. Shout out to Cori for joining us. What were your takeaways?
I mean, clearly a thoughtful player, great pedigree. I thought it was really cool how she talked about the culture of the team, how she was prepared to come in from her time at Penn State. I mean, it feels like everybody you hear, whether it's Haley Carter, who was mentioned, or Seb Hines, Cori Dyke, or, obviously Marta, you already know what time it is. Just like, what a squad they have over there.
Yeah, and you get the feeling that the culture stuff and the pride stuff and the chemistry stuff is like 100% real, 100% authentic.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like you can see it. Like, I think everything that Cori mentioned are things that are very, very visible to the naked eye watching the game. Hopefully we get to see a little bit of that tomorrow night against Chicago Red Stars.
Yes, I mean, even me as an objective journalist, I look forward to watching them play and play well.
All right, man, I think we did it. It's been another episode of Into the Channel, championship episode of Into the Channel. Sincere thank you for watching, listening, following, liking, subscribing, just plain hanging out with your boys. Remember to like if you liked, and subscribe or follow Into the Channel, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to watch or listen. Leave us a review, hopefully a positive one, over your favorite podcast app. Links to all of our socials in the show notes of this episode. And a big thank you to my co-host as well, Mr. Grant Engel, for, getting on the offensive side of the ball as we went 2v1 versus the defensive stalwart, Cori Dyke.
You know what, buddy? Even if we were in a real game of football going 2v1, she's absolutely mashing both of us. We are drawing dead in that scenario. But it's all right. Luckily, it was a congenial interview. I'm looking forward to watching your squad play tomorrow, and we will talk to you guys next time.